Hey y'all, welcome back to the Chalk Sports Podcast. It's a solo pod. We got to talk about the Combine because I watched every single minute of it. I was there from the start to the finish, keeping an eye on all these prospects. And I'm going to start with the defensive tackles. Let's talk about some of the best risers, some of the best falls, some of the most interesting changes in the draft. Starting with, obviously, D tackles. And I think there's only one guy you have to talk about. It's Zane Durant. Zane Durant had one of the better combines I think I've ever seen. Not really, but his jump is insane. It is very impressive because he started off right there. You see it, 24th in production score. He was 233rd on PFF. He did not have a high grade. But I feel like after this combine performance, you got to look at him a little differently now. Athletically wise, this kid is talented. And I wasn't super high on him. I don't even think I had him drafted before this combine, where he's from Lake Nona. He is a senior, so that's not the best. He's also only 6'1", which isn't, again, the greatest. But as a man, with his speed and agility, he has a lot of talent. He has a lot of ability. And personally, I was very surprised by it. I was not expecting him to show up like that because I didn't really know who to expect. But man, he showed up at a different level. And there's no shuttle or bench yet. It's come out tomorrow. But from combine, like the moves and everything that you look at for a D lineman, he showed up in. His clubs, his speed, his agility, all went to show. They all showed very well. And it's a very rare quickness level. I don't think he will be a top first 2-round draft. But his 40-yard dash being 4.75, which is insanely fast because some linebackers didn't even hit. Okay, never mind. Apparently, I thought they didn't. But some defensive edges didn't even beat that. There's a few guys who arguably had good combine days that just did not equal what Zane Durant did. Moving on to the next one, Caleb Proctor. Let's give him some love. He's very wonky. I am kind of high on him. He has a good production level. But you also have to understand that he went to Southeast Louisiana Lions. He played Murray State and the Sun and the Devils and nobody really of note. And that's an interesting problem. Where, what do? Do you give him credit for those 9 sacks and say, hey, he looks good? I don't know. I'm kind of high on him because he has his combine grade is graded 4th out of athleticism. You see his 40-yard dash right now. He had a 4.79. It's the second fastest out of all linemen. His 10-yard is also very quick, which is a sign of success for guards. He's got a good first step, and that's what was noted by Lance before he even did this, is that he is athletic. And for defensive tackles, having those guys can be the difference. I don't think he is a answer for a team. I don't think he's a permanent solution, but he's definitely solid. Let's get into a guy who I really like, Caleb Banks. I was kind of high on him just because I watched a lot of him. I was a Florida fan before I committed to FSU. And he was very talented. He's always been very talented. He's always been high on my list. And he's compared to Gravon Dexter Sr. That is no joke. He had a good 40-yard dash time today. His vertical jump doesn't really matter, and same thing for broad jump. But his 10-yard split is very important. 1.76 seconds is in the upper echelon of linemen. He ranks what? He ranks pretty high. So there's a few guys ahead of him, obviously, but his production level also is equal. He's the number 1 PFF defensive interior lineman, and it makes sense. He's shown what he can do. He did have a foot injury today, though. So there is question marks about that. I don't think it matters, to be honest with you. He's got a good pass rush win rate. He's good on run. He's good on pass. And I think with all that combined, he will be a dominant guard or lineman. And I think it went to show. Another guy I want to give credit to because I think it's insanely impressive, DeMont Capehart. Wasn't super high on this guy early in the draft process. He doesn't have the highest grade in NFL. He ran a 4.85 at 313 pounds and 6'5". That is insanely impressive. And that is something that is not normally done by a lineman of his size. He went insane. And he showed why why he is worth the drafting. He wasn't a guy who was graded very high on PFF. I don't think so, at least. Yeah, he was 110th, which isn't bad, but it's nothing insanely special. And I think with that, he's one of the few guys where I think they truly rose the ranks. And another one, because we're gonna string it together, I don't even know where he is. Gary Smith had a bad combine. We're gonna avoid talking about him because his combine was brutal. I feel kind of bad for him. Oh, they don't have. Oh, they ruled him as edges. Oh, I guess they're technically edges. Never mind. We're not gonna talk about them yet. But in general, this combine for defensive tackles, we saw a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. But let's talk about the more athletic part: defensive edges. David Bailey and Arvell Reese. You gotta chill. David Bailey, first off, holy did David Bailey have an amazing combine. David Bailey instantly put himself on the map for, obviously, I was already very high on him. But, man, he showed a different level when he decided to run a 4.5. With the production score he already has, it's insane. His PFF grade, you see it right there, 9.3. He showed up and ran a 4.5, which was the highest out of actual edges. Arvell Reese was a linebacker. It's what he was ruled as, and it's what he showed up as. The only person who ran equal to him was his buddy Cassius Howell, who equaled his split, his 10-yard split. So he managed to go 40 yards, 4.5 seconds. Cassius Howell went 4.59 seconds. He showed what he can do. And I don't think there's a lot of guys who can equal that level of play, that level of talent. His size is good, his weight is good, and he's an instant starter in my mind. He shot up the board quick. And they're talking about him getting drafted to the New York Jets second overall now with the T-Pain trade, and I'll talk about that right now. They traded T-Pain to the Jets, the Titans did. So that instantly makes it so Mendoza's one in my mind. And we won't go all the way through it, but number 2, it's either Bailey, or it's somebody else, but I don't think you go Arvell Reese anymore. I originally said Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese was my number 1 for the Jets because they didn't need a defensive tackle. Now they have T'Vondre Sweat for, I think it was Jermaine Johnson. Now it makes only sense. It only makes sense. I think you go David Bailey. After this performance, you got it. Because the combine stats only matter a lot in my mind in some scenarios. He's compared to Nick Bentonio. He had one of the best production seasons in SEC level football. Like, he played against top tier teams. You see it right there. His Oregon grade was an 85.1. His BYU grade was an 87.9. And the only time he really had a problem, or that Big 12, was the Utes, the Utah Utes. And that's that's a disservice to the fact that he has to play 4 linemen who are equal in NFL draft. Like, they are upper echelon in NFL draft. And I feel like you got to give him credit. I think Ruben Maid is very good, and I think Ruben Maid deserves to be picked early. Besides for Francis going to the Cardinals, then I think he could go here. I think he could fall a little bit. Now with Arvell Reese, I feel like you go Arvell Reese, and then you go wide receiver in Carnell Tate, and then the Browns might go Ruben Maid if he falls that far. Or even in this scenario, I don't remember who I had originally, but let's say the Browns go Sony Styles now. After that performance, Ruben Maid falls to the Commanders, and I think that only makes sense. Because you have to understand, one, Ruben Maid not playing in this combine really kills his grade in my mind. Because you got to play it. You got to do the combine. Because you showed like David Bailey did. David Bailey had an amazing combine. His performance was immaculate. And that is something you have to credit him for. You have to give him the love because he played it. He showed what he can do. That 4.5 dash is no joke. Moving on to another guy, Mikhail Lawrence. Oof. I loved the commentary. By the way, from, what's his name? I'm blanking. Rich Eisen, and there's so many good guys on there. Mikhail Lawrence was their favorite one coming out of it. Because Mikhail Lawrence threw an insane, just between the 4 I can't remember what it's called. There's 4 pads on the floor, and they just come in and tap each one, tap each one, tap each one, tap each one. He showed why he was good, like why he could be a future. He's compared to Josh Sweat, and he's already considered an NFL caliber edge rusher with prototypical size and length. He's 6'4", 253 with a 33-inch arm. That's insane. That is very, very strong. He's got a lot going for him, and I think you got to give him credit where it's due, because I think these edges genuinely had a way better combine than the linebackers, and we'll get into it in a second. But another one I'm gonna give love to: Cassius Howell, Danny Dennis, and where's the other? George Gerbs played amazing. He could have had a better combine, honestly. I think both of his 40-yard times were a little slipped. He slipped and made a mistake. I think when he was doing it, they were saying that he could have done better. He would have done better. And I think that's something you got to give credit for. I don't think Wesley Williams had a good combine. It was kind of brutal. It definitely hurt his stock. But in general, this combine for defensive edge have been amazing. We'll move on to the last one, linebackers. Now, there's only 3 guys that I think had a genuinely amazing performance, and that's just because a defensive edge outran you. In Anthony Hill. Arvell Reese, I'm considering him a linebacker. He's not an edge. I don't know why they have him as an edge. Sonny Styles and Caleb Elums. Caleb Elums was somebody who was not really high on my list until after this performance. He showed 40-inch vertical jump. He had a 1.59 split along with a 4.47 40-yard dash, and his 20-yard shuttle was also very strong with a 4.41. That was something that I was very impressed by. Sonny Styles, dude, this kid showed something insane. He shot up lists, I'm sure, so fast. He's compared to Fred Warner already. I was very high on him. I thought I was very high on him. With having him go to the Cowboys at 14, I think it was. There's no way he falls out of the top 10 anymore. There's no shot. Because, I am going 12. Because it was like, okay, linebacker, like, I'm high on him. He got compared to Megatron. That's how good he had of a combine. Was that his Megatron comparison was a very legitimate case, too. It wasn't like it was just some joke. He jumped out of the gym with a 43.5-inch vertical. Look at that. That's insane. From a linebacker's perspective, you are getting a Fred Warner compared to Fred Warner. I don't get it. He has insane size, insane length, insane weight. His agility, his ability is all off the charts. His 20-yard shuttle is 2.2 seconds faster than Caleb's, which is very high. Considering the fact that Arvell Reese didn't do one, the only other guy you can compare him to is what's his name? Oh, besides, I guess you can look at these guys and say, okay, Jack Kelly had a better one. Or Jacob Rodriguez. Jacob Rodriguez also had a good combine. We'll give him credit. And Jack Kelly, it was all right. So, in general, though, I think Sonny Styles instantly won the combine. Unless we see some crazy performances from wide receivers or linebackers or wide receiver corners, anybody else, right now, this kid is automatically the Nick A-Man Warrior of last year. I think he deserves actually more love because Nick A-Man Warrior's only downside was that he didn't have proof that he was good. I believed in it, but a lot of people didn't. This time, you have a guy who does have proof because he was graded the 5th best. He's graded 5th best on PFF now. He shot up the ranks instantly. His pass rush, his run defense, his coverage grade, his average depth of tackle, his missed tackle rate are all very high. He played amazing in this combine, and that's something that you didn't see before. Nobody saw before. Instantly shot up the list for a PFF. And I think it's very fair to do so. So talk about Arvell Reese. We talked about Sonny Styles. It's time to talk about Caleb Elums. He played good. I think with his 40-yard dash, he definitely could get some credit. I'm curious to see what they see in film. Because this film isn't the greatest. It's not the best in the world. Obviously, PFF doesn't have him very high. I think CJ Allen definitely should participate too, because considering how high Sonny Styles is going to shoot, it's going to hurt CJ Allen's prospect. But, I mean, you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and I don't see him. That's a problem. But that's something that, unless I missed him. Oh, I did miss him. 210. He's graded. His PFF grades are all right. And that's a concern, but at the same time, some people discredit PFF. I credit PFF, especially with college football, considering you can't get film as easily as NFL. Caleb Elam's had a good season, and they have him drafted around what? What's that say? So they have him drafted. They had him drafted 50th at one point. He's now around 205. I think that's a little low now. I think it's going to shoot up because like Red Murdoch is definitely going to fall down a little bit. I think with this combine, he might fly over someone like Harold Perkins or Trey Moore, where you look at him and say, okay, he has the speed. His technical ability might be a little weak, but I think that's something that you can develop. His instincts are a little subpar. It says right there, subpar instincts with a tendency to lose track of play development. That's something that can be developed. I don't think average or backup. I don't think average or backup will stand true. Special teamer, there it is. 5.8 out of or to 5.9. I don't think it'll stand true. I think he will become a potential starter because he has a lot. He's shown a lot. He's not gonna be my all-in guy. I gotta find that still, but he's definitely one that I'm considering as a talent. Another one, Jacob Rodriguez. He had a great college career. His collegiate career was very impressive. He obviously was. I think he won the Big 12 award for the best linebacker. He also, or best defensive player. He also is compared to Carson Schwechiner, which is crazy. His stats are very high. His athletics came out really well with a 4.57, which was what? It was decently high with Justin Jefferson, Jack Kelly, and Kayshawn Shard just standing just a bit ahead of him. It's definitely thrown me off how the linebacker class struggled. Because there are Cash Howell, Trey Moore, and Malachi Lawrence, where you could look at those guys and argue the value of defensive edges along with the value of linebackers, where some of the middle tier ones are not the best, are not comparable. I wonder what's going to happen with this draft because you could argue that some of the linebackers had some of the best combines. Sony Styles is definitely going to shoot up. Arvo Reese is obviously already very high. Caleb Elams might shoot up a little bit. Anthony Hill. But the edges had a way better class. Arvo Reese had an amazing game. David Bailey had an amazing combine. Malachi Lawrence had an amazing combine. Trey Moore had an amazing combine. There's a lot that could change. I'm curious to see how it'll go. Jack Kelly obviously had a good combine. I pinned him up because it's graded third. His athleticism score is graded third, which is good. It's something that you could base off of. Something that you could say, hey, he did show some promise. I don't know how much I believe in him, but I definitely don't doubt him. That's my opinion on all this combine. I'm more excited to see the next few days. I'm curious to see what is the average, what the stats are, and who changes. Because we missed CJ Allen. We didn't have Ruben Bain. We didn't have Gabe Jekis. Akeem Mesidor didn't participate. Peter Woods didn't participate. Which are all guys that should have. I disagree with Reed, I guess. This linebacker core is awesome. But granted, I did shed like that. Sony Styles, Anthony Hill, Kyle Lewis, he's a little high on. I'm kind of iffy on. But the big thing is the small. I like this guy's take. Is that there are small defensive lineman arms that have become a talking point because of holding and just how that perspective. It's so fun to watch the combine, like storylines that generate from it. Because you shouldn't factor all your marbles on this guy had a good combine, so he's got to be number one. You find a way to mix them both. Where I think the Seattle coach was talking about, where you give them credit for the way they played, while also combining what you saw in the combine. Do you see that the combine matches how they played on the field? And I think that's the best way to look at it. And it's a way to sort between a Nick Ammanwari or I'm blanking on his name now, and it's going to bother me. John Ross. How do you determine between those two? Because on one hand, John Ross had the potential to do it all. John Ross in 2017 had the fastest 40 time of all time. He ran amazing. His broad jump was solid. He was intensely impressive. But then you look at his actual performance, he didn't turn out too well. He ended up being injury prone. He ended up consistently being a problem. And he ended up not doing a lot in the NFL. Versus a Nick Amon-Ward, whose combine was off the charts. Everybody was impressed by Nick Amon-Ward. Everyone was saying, oh my God, he's going to be amazing. I was saying he was going to be amazing. And there's video proof of that. And he did turn out to be amazing. And that's what's so fun about this combine, this era, where everybody looks, who's going to be good? Looking for the next guy. And there's no Stephon Pia, where he's ruled as a perennial All-Pro before he even got it drafted into the NFL. I don't know how he turned out. I don't think he turned out too well. I mean, obviously decent, but he broke the bench record. So this combine does factor. It should factor. But look at this guy. He played 7 years, and he recorded what? Did he even record it? He recorded sacks. 14 total sacks in 7 years of play. He was drafted second round. He broke the bench record. He was graded a perennial All-Pro by the NFL, and he didn't turn out. So that's the thoughts you have to do. Is, okay, Byron Jones turned out pretty well. He had a good combine. He also had a good collegiate career. He also showed a lot of promise as this combine was going on, and they ended up grading him a 5.8, which is a backup or special teamer. He turned out to be pretty good. So factor in the NFL, factor in the prospect grade, but don't make it your end-all be-all. If you believe in a guy, believe in him. That's what I got for y'all. Make sure you like, subscribe, share if you enjoyed this. I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.